Hey, welcome back, guys. Well, Lulu, you really did it this time. And only God knows where you are, because that's the main question lingering in all of our minds. But aside from that, the jig is finally up for Howard, and his tangential relationship, as they so eloquently put it, to Marvin, and Rock by extension, could finally place him in a spot that no decorated police officer wants to be. I'm here to break it all down in typical Top 10 WTF fashion. Before we begin, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and bell notification to immediately receive these videos. Also, big thank you to all of my channel donors. If you'd like to be the next one, drop $1 on that Cash App for us. And lastly, a spoiler alert is now in effect for all things power. Here we go. WTF moment number 10, Menace Lou Society. The episode begins with an overdrunken Lou stupidly driving around the streets of New York City and making vehicular messes from corner to corner. He finally decides to stop by a nearby liquor store, only to enter the store and meet the insults of the cashier with the almighty pistol. Lou foolishly robs the store, stumbles into a bottle, and then has to flee from the scene of the crime himself after the cashier pulls out his own version of that goddammit. Now, this intro would highlight the theme of this episode, which will be addictions and those who fall prey to them, and most tragically, how they end up. WTF moment number 9, Out of Business. Ronnie, along with a surprising guest feature by Ty Dolla $ign, await the re-up from Juliana, when all of a sudden, they're surrounded by every other Colombian not named Juliana. These men come courtesy of Joaquin, who eventually appears himself and informs Ronnie that not only is Juliana dead, but his business relationship and any other relationship is now over. This infuriates Ronnie and sends him into a frenzy for the rest of the episode, not knowing where his next dollar or the replacement dollars for Snaps and Pop's 401k is going to come from. WTF moment number 8, a phonographic disaster. In search of Lou, Marvin pays a visit to his apartment and pays his landlord in order to gain entry to the place. However, he shockingly finds it in a disheveled state, as Lulu's home is an extension of his current mind and spirit, and that is one that is messy, filthy, and unkept. Marvin then warns the landlord not to steal anything from the place, because as he hilariously stated, "I got a phonographic memory." You gotta love Marvin, man. I hope nothing happens to him, because that's my guy. WTF moment number 7, a matter of trust. Following Jukebox's breakout performance at the mall, Kanan and Rock have their own breakout performance in a tense, heated exchange following their time apart due to Kanan's activities and Rock's re-entry into the game herself. The concerned mother tries to warn her son against Ronnie and drops a bomb on him in the form of the true fate of Unique and the person behind it. Surprisingly, Kanan lets her and the rest of us know that that's not what he heard from Ronnie himself, and that from his understanding, it was Rock behind Unique's death in order to take his Italian connect and get back in the game. Now, this is Ronnie using heavy manipulation to keep his understudy under his thumb. And on the surface, it would make sense, because Rock's re-entry into the game was via Unique's Italian connect, and she's using the same storefronts that he planned to use, only she expanded them, and the distribution along with them. In this way, Ronnie is playing Kanan how an older Kanan would play Tariq, giving half of the truth and withholding the other half for selfish gain. And from where this commentator is sitting, it's going to get Ronnie put in that same place that Kanan was put in once pressed towards family loyalty. But we shall see. WTF moment number 6, FBI records. After a phenomenal performance by Jukebox and her other bandmates Butter, the trio await further accolades backstage. After seeing a group of men dressed up as record executives, they just know that their big break is upon their feet. However, this tragically wouldn't be the case, as Jukebox will be blindsided by an FBI investigation into her family, and unfortunately, it really lends credence as to why she tried to sever those ties to begin with via the army. This will undoubtedly remove her from Butter, or at least being in the lead of that group, as Nakia will most likely disregard Jukebox due to the negative attention that her family's activities is placing upon the group. That's not what she started this for, and appearances are everything. We shall see how it's gonna go, but in our hearts and minds, we already know. WTF moment number 5, the sins of the father. Marvin meets with Gerald at the hospital, who's all but in shambles as it pertains to the fate of his daughter. Marvin learns that his daughter did indeed drown due to his negligence, a fate that Marvin feared previously and was foreshadowed by Marvin's actions in an effort to help his daughters while Gerald was on another binge. Then, in the heat of this emotional confession, Gerald makes another. He admits to working with the FBI against Marvin, and admits that he's been working with them from the beginning. Now this sends Marvin into an absolute rage, and he replaces his nuanced, comforting approach with one of anger, hatred, and scathing, blaming him for his daughter's death and leaving him to drown in the misery, no pun intended. WTF moment number 4, Overdose. Following his heated and final exchange with his now former best friend, the feds kick in Gerald's door, only to find their snitch dead by heroin overdose. I mean, the needle's literally sticking out his arm when they come into his home. And that's not funny, so don't you dare laugh. Because as Slick Rick said, this story is about someone who took the wrong path. Or something like that. Maybe I'm putting too many words in the game, but y'all understand what I'm saying. Gerald was a snitch, he was a rat, but he was trouble. What are you gonna do? WTF moment number 3, tangentially speaking. Captain Burke pays yet another visit to Captain Baptiste and explains what he's learned from Mr. Bingham in regards to Lauren's connection with his daughter. His guilty conscience is the reason why he continues to knock at the door, believing that clearing his daughter's name will by proxy clean his own conscience. The current police captain entertains the former decorated officer, and once they bring in the FBI head on the investigation, they all call Howard in for questioning, which leads into an impromptu interrogation about his clandestine actions in the Burke fiasco. But that Howard, like a skilled boxer, bobs and weaves his way around every question, even deflecting on Captain Baptiste for his urge of discretion back in the earlier parts of this season. Howard then denies any connection to Marvin Thomas, claiming that any involvement with them is only happenstance, and then doubles down on his audacity by posing as an offended party that he'd even be questioned about doing business with a drug dealer. Now this may have gotten Howard out of this one situation, but it's not over for him, as we see him in a mosque in the trailer for episode 10, and he's gonna need Allah, Jesus, and every other god to get him out of this one. WTF moment number 2, the Legion of Doom. In a brief but chilling moment, Kanan sits down with his drug dealing family, Snaps, Pop, and Ronnie, and is all but charged with leading the forthcoming attack on his own mother. They claim that Rock is behind messing with their investment and messing with their work, and that it's time for her unceremonious exit. But will Kanan agree to this? Because now we're down to the nitty-gritty of things, and this is what drama is all about. Kanan has a couple of choices, and these things I'm gonna map out soon in a video to come. And WTF moment number 1, to places unknown. Rock enlists Howard to track down her brother Lulu, and he sends a couple of officers out for him, only to find him in a bar of all places, right? And they bring him back to an undisclosed location, where a drunken Lulu gets to mouthing off and even gets his life threatened by Howard for the revelations that he spills, including what he knows about Howard's connection to Scrap and his death. Then, Rock finally shows up, and her and Marvin take Lulu down a dark path, but a mysterious one. An emotionally overwhelmed Lulu, thinking that he's made peace with his maker, reneges on his own self-inflicted efforts and pleads with his family for his life. But as cold and stone-faced as they remain, it only leaves a couple of options for where Lulu could be headed. But only one certain option in his head, as Lulu is likely headed for the grave. But that's not what many of you think. Some lingering thoughts before we end today's video. As a continuation of that Lulu piece, just where do you think Lulu is being taken? Now in my comment section, many of you seem to believe he's going to rehab. And that's not beyond the pale, given what Rock said about protecting her family and not selling out anyone within it. But I don't know too many people on their way to rehab that will be given their last drink. I also don't know too many people headed to rehab that will be bound by zip ties. These are things that you put around people and offer up to people who are on their way out the door from a life perspective, going from one door to the other. It's the same thing, ironically, that Lulu did for D-Wiz after he was commanded to kill him. Remember, Lulu took D-Wiz out on the town, put some ass in his lap, got him drinks, everything, because he wanted to give him the best night possible prior to his demise. Now, it's funny that this moment comes up because this was the turning point in Lulu's story arc, and I certainly hope that story isn't coming to an end. So I'll entertain Rehab with you guys for a bit, but personally, I think he's on his way to a family member down south, somewhere where he can be free from his demons, and more importantly, far away enough where he can't harm his family any further. What do you guys think about Howard's story? And will he finally meet his karma in episode 10? It does seem like the FBI head is questioning Howard yet again, so there must be another connection upcoming in the new episode. It's going to be interesting to see how they play him. And lastly, what do you think Kanan will decide as it pertains to his mother? Will he turn on Rock, or will he put the family first? And if he does indeed decide to put the family first, what would sway his decision? From where I'm sitting, I think the only thing that would sway it would be if he discovered that Ronnie has been lying to him in regards to Unique. They didn't drop that tidbit of information for nothing. And I think once he truly sees Ronnie for who he is, he'll make the right decision. Or the wrong one, we shall see. But that'll do it for this one. What were your thoughts on Raising Kanan episode 309? Be sure to drop me your opinions in the comments below. As always, I thank you for watching today's video. If you liked today's video, go ahead and drop $1 on that Cash App for us, hit the like button, share it with your friends who are Power fans, and subscribe for more content such as this. This is Rudy P. Magic of Rudy P. Magic Beats, and have a blessed one until the next one. Peace, y'all.